Welcome to Cheltenham Borough Council Miscellaneous Subcommittee being held on Wednesday the 2nd of July 2025. My name is Councillor Simon Wheeler and I have been elected Chair of this committee. This meeting is being streamed live to Cheltenham Borough Council YouTube channel and the recording of the meeting will be held for 4 years. If there are any breaks in transmission to the YouTube stream, the meeting will be adjourned for a short period until any issues are resolved. If you're here to make representation to the meetings, you are consenting to the use of sound and video recordings for broadcasting and training purposes. Please be aware that CCTV and audio recording is now in operation in the public gallery. The recordings will be held by the Council for 5 months. Please note also that a fire alarm test is not expected, so if the alarm does sound, you should immediately make your way out via the nearest exits there, and a hidden one just here. Right, agenda item 1, we have apologies from Councillor Boyes, Pemberton and Williams and Councillor Willingham, sorry. Help, I've lost my place now. Sorry. No, it's my fault, I got it wrong. Councillor Barrell is attending as a substitute. Agenda item 2, any declarations of interest? No. Right, agenda item 3. Because this is a regulatory item, members must be present and have heard the proceedings in their entirety to vote on this item. We will ensure that the applicant and the applicant's representative, if they have one, are present in the meeting. I will ask the licensing officer to introduce the report. Members will get an opportunity to ask the licensing officer questions. The applicant or their representative will have the opportunity to ask the licensing officer questions. Any objectors? I don't see any, but we'll be given the opportunity to speak and we'll ask you to limit your time to no less than 10 minutes. I don't think that's applicable. Members and the applicant will be given the opportunity to ask the objector questions. The applicant or their representative will be given the opportunity to present their application or make their case. We will ask applicants to try and limit this to no more than 10 minutes. Members can ask the applicant questions. Again, the next line I don't think is appropriate. Objectors can ask applicant questions and then applicant will be given the final right of reply. Members will then retire to deliberate the matter and to write a decision notice. Members will return to the chamber and the chair or legal officer will deliver the outcome. So, would the licensing officer introduce the item, please?
Thank you, Chair. This evening, the committee is being asked to consider a deviation from the street trading policy for the street trading fees that are due for Tan's Coffee Box. Tanya Baxter, who is trading as Tan's Coffee Box, has held a street trading consent issued by Cheltenham Borough Council since the 20th of June 2024. It expired this year on the 19th of June 2025. Following the issue last year in 2024, an administrative error by the Council meant that consent fees due for the year were not applied. As a result of this administrative error, the fees were waived for 2024-2025, but have been deemed to be due for 2025-2026. The applicant disputes the fees which are due, and the committee has been asked to determine which, if any, fees will be due. The committee may prescribe that the published street trading consent fee applies, prescribe that a reduction and the extent of the reduction to the street trading consent fee applies, or prescribe that no fee is due. There is no right of appeal against the review of a fee by the subcommittee for the consent holder. Cheltenham Borough Council control street trading within the Borough of Cheltenham through the adopted legislation of the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1982. This means the council control the sale or exposing for sale of any article in a street. For the purposes of the legislation, the street means any road, footway, beach or other area to which the public have access without payment. The whole borough is designated as such and is applicable to street trading consent. The fees that are determined by the council are based upon cost recovery with discretion by the council to amend them for the duration of the consent, the location of the consent and the goods being sold under the consent. Where licensing fees are not paid, the street trading consent can be revoked. The consent fee is payable by all relevant traders in the borough, and the requirement for consent fees being paid is available on Cheltenham Borough Council's website at the time of application. For this particular trader, their annual consent fee quoted is £3,298.32, which equates to £274.86 monthly. The fees in general for their annual consent are similar to other authorities with a similar demographic to Cheltenham. The other traders who are subject to their own independent fees from Cheltenham's consent fees pay with no complaint and accept their quoted fee. This is in part due to traders typically not paying business rates, any kind of ground rent or high utility costs due to the nature of the business. The council does have discretion to reduce a consent fee where an enterprise is charitable. We would expect in this instance for them to be registered as a charity or to fulfil a purpose under the Charities Act 2011. In this particular instance, the business is commercial, so it is not considered appropriate to apply the discretion. Members, when considering this case, should consider the precedent that they will be setting with any decision and should have regard to the adopted probity guides when asking questions and coming to a determination. And that, Chair, is my report.
Thank you. Do any of the members have questions of the officer? Yes, Councillor Barrow.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask whether the street trading fees were actually advertised before the applicant originally applied for consent to be a street trader. Were they available on the website? Would it be expected that she would have known about this?
Yes, so the fees are published every year and uploaded to the Cheltenham Borough Council website for public view. And at the time of making an application, before submitting an online form or a paper copy, there's a section on the street trading website which states additional consent fees would be payable after any licence is granted.
Yes.
Thank you. I just wondered, have you come across this before? And if you did you waiver the fees then for that first year? Because that's quite a generous offer, I think.
So where this outcome has happened before, any first year fees that have been overlooked as a result of an administrative error have been waived. Then the trader has been asked to pay any further fees that are due, and they have all agreed to pay them in full and on time.
No more questions? Okay, now we have, I have Holly. Is that Holly Baxter? Sorry, Maysfield.
Holly Wakefield.
Okay. If you have you got any questions of the officer?
Based on the answer to the previous question, can the licensing officer confirm that this is a situation that has happened before, whereby there has been an administrative error on behalf of the licensing team?
Yes.
Thank you.
There any more
no
questions?
further questions,
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. You've had the wrong way round. Oh, sorry. Hang on, sorry, yes. Holly, would you like to put your case to the committee, please?
Thank you. Good evening, councillors. My name is Holly, and I'm here today representing Tanya, the owner of Tan's Coffee Box, a small independent coffee business that she runs from a converted horse box outside St Luke's Church. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'd like to begin with the voices from our local community that we serve. More than 300 people have signed a petition to back this appeal. We've received dozens of heartfelt letters, some of which I'll read now. Tanya has established a business that provides far, far more to the St Luke's community and hospital communities than a typical coffee van or cafe. I'm in deep awe of Tanya's ability to quietly build a sense of community, effortlessly drawing people together and providing an important space for a very wide range of local residents and visitors. If I could use my own experience by way of example, I've been coming to manage my elderly parents' rental property on St Luke's Road following their sudden and significant decline in health. Initially, I knew no one in the area and was somewhat overwhelmed by the task in hand. After no more than 3 or 4 visits, stopping off to buy a coffee each time, I now feel incredibly supported by the local community and have made valuable links within the community, which has helped me immeasurably in the work I'm doing there. I'm now on friendly terms with many of the neighbours and local residents. This would not have been possible without Tanya's amazing ability to facilitate social exchange and connections. As I have continued to visit the van, I've seen a number of vulnerable residents come to the coffee van and on each occasion be the beneficiary of considered and sensitive support, whether this be directly from Tanya or from other customers. It is so heartwarming to bear witness to this, and I feel strongly that this kind of social cohesion is what makes communities special. It would be an enormous loss to the St Luke's communities to have this business fold. I've also seen hospital patients, carers and staff find sanctuary at the van. In one case, the patient needed to remain outside for health reasons, and in other cases, staff taking breaks from stressful shifts in a peaceful outdoor space. This next section is from a patient at the hospital. I've been undergoing gruelling cancer treatment at Cheltenham General Hospital for the past year, and I've had my fair share of hospital views. Walls, ceiling tiles, and hospital equipment. Going for a coffee within the hospital isn't very enjoyable as you feel there's no escape between treatments when you're often in the hospital grounds for 8 hours attending various appointments. Being able to walk across the road to Tan's Coffee Box has been an absolute godsend to myself and many others I've gotten to know in the oncology unit. It's helped to boost morale, thus improving my mental health significantly, not only from the owner of the box herself, who always offers a listening ear, support and encouragement, along with a smile and an incredible cup of coffee, but also by allowing people like me who are immunocompromised to be able to be out in the fresh air to enjoy a hot drink and company without the concern or the risk of illness or infections being transmitted to us when our bodies are at their lowest. Being able to go there 3 or 4 times a week has been such a support to me and many others. It has helped me to become part of the community, striking up a lovely relationship with the parish as well, and Tanya herself has been a massive support to me also. And this is from another local customer. Tan's Coffee Box is incredibly inclusive, welcoming people from all walks of life, regardless of background, identity, or beliefs. That kind of acceptance can be rare and should be cherished. From a personal point of view, my daughter has special needs and she's always welcome at Tan's. Tanya makes the effort to make her and me feel very comfortable. My daughter's not always welcomed everywhere due to her needs. Tan's Coffee Box truly makes her happy. She runs around, enjoys the food and drink, and plays with other children. As the mother of someone with special needs, it's very difficult to explain how much this means to us and how important it is to be able to go somewhere and feel at ease. Cheltenham lacks this offering. And finally, on behalf of St Luke's Parish Church Council, we've received a full letter of support from Reverend Patrick Wheaton. In the interest of time, I'm not going to read his excerpt, but you can see this in the evidence. These aren't just nice words. There are lived experiences of space that quietly and consistently improves well-being. Public health data shows that social isolation damages mental and physical health and costs more in the long term. One of our regular customers can't even bring herself to face Tanya out of fear that they may lose her for good. Even brief, informal contact like a smile or a short conversation with a barista improves well-being and belonging. That's what Tanya provides every single day. Let's not forget as well, small and micro businesses make up the majority of Cheltenham's economy. We are at the beating heart of it. If every one of us were forced to pay disproportionate, inflexible and inconsistent fees, as the licensing team has shown, there will be nothing left. No character, no diversity, just shuttered shops, vans and empty spaces. Tan's Coffee Box isn't just a coffee shop. It's a warm, welcoming and inclusive space built for connection. Over the past year, Tanya has served nearly 1,500 customers, from NHS workers to elderly neighbours to people going through cancer treatment. Some days she's the only person they speak to. In every sense of the word, it's a small public service in disguise. But now she faces a 3,200% street trading fee, more than 20% of her annual revenue before considering overheads. So that's before she's considered staffing costs, local supply chain support to bakeries and local coffee roasteries, etc. That kind of fee would be crippling to any micro business, not generous, as Councillor Sankey mentioned, let alone one operating on community value rather than commercial scale. The Council's report claims that all other traders pay without refusal or complaint. We are not here to complain or cause trouble. We're here because we believe in fairness, transparency in the community we serve, and we feel compelled to raise our concerns. Imagine being a small business owner yourself, forecasting your costs, navigating a very fragile economy, and discovering that a 20% revenue cost had been missing from your financial forecasting due to an oversight from professionals. It was never clearly communicated. Yes, there is evidence on the website, but there is a tiered system and a day-by-day system that is calculated that is not transparent on the council's website. That's what's happened here. Tanya was not told about this fee when she applied. She was not told upon renewal until the administrative error was made clear, and she only learned of this hearing 10 weeks into discussions with licensing officers. We're grateful to the most senior recent officer. They've been helpful and understanding, but that experience is not consistent across the licensing team. In the first instance, Tanya was quoted 2 different fees, one for over £5,000 for a town centre site she doesn't even trade in. Had she simply accepted that, she would have been overpaying by nearly £1,800 every year, funds that could have gone back into the business if that happened. The council's report also suggests that businesses like Tanya's aren't susceptible to rent. That simply is not true. Just 1 year ago, the council's Green Spaces team ran a tender for 3 pitches. We know this because we applied. Hatherley Park, Swindon Village and Daisy Bank. Most, if not all of us, are susceptible to rent. We're told the fees are based on officer time, site duration, goods sold and location. But that doesn't explain why even the secondary site street trading licence costs more than a sex establishment licence in the borough and more than the most expensive alcohol, regulated entertainment or late night refreshment licences, all of which are available on the council's website, categories that surely require a higher level of enforcement, one would hope, and apply to businesses with greater profit margins. Even regarding enforcement, we're not sure on this system. At the licensing team's own admission, they only have 4 similar traders within their system as having consent. We know there's at least twice that number operating in the borough. We also find it remarkable that the report only covers one of the other 5 districts in Gloucestershire. It references authorities with similarly high fees, but not ones with fairer models. Let's take Tewkesbury, for example. For the same licensing fee, it's £864. For Stroud, £1,320. For Cotswolds, £869. And for Forester Dean, £997. Cheltenham is charging over 5 times what some of the neighbouring districts do. They're not small differences, and with local government reorganisation on the horizon, we worry for the future of all traders like us in Gloucestershire as street trading policy perhaps becomes centralised. The report warns of setting a precedent, but I would argue a precedent's already being set. Look to the local news outlets, community notice boards. In the last 2 weeks alone, 3 local independent businesses have had to close down. More practical action must be taken to intervene and support the survival of local independent businesses. Tan's Coffee Box reflects everything Cheltenham Borough Council says it wants to support. Your own corporate plan promises to support residents to be healthy, communities to be strong, and businesses to thrive. It commits to removing barriers wherever possible and working in partnership with grassroots organisations. Your social value policy talks about mental health, local SME support, and improved community outcomes. But this fee and the inconsistent way it's being applied undermines all of that. We're not asking for special treatment, we're asking for fair treatment. We're asking you to use your discretion to reduce this fee to something that's fair and in line with our revenue and our community value. Tan's Coffee Box may be small, but its impact is big. It helps make Cheltenham kinder, warmer, and more connected. And we hope today you'll help protect that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And can I say from the chair now that I think we all agree that we're not here to criticise Tam's Coffee Box. We know that they're much appreciated. We've read all the letters that you've read and some more as well. But can I ask, have any of the rest of the committee got any?
Would you mind if I just came in very quick?
Please, yes. From
Yeah, I just want to echo the chair's feelings first and foremost. In terms of the fees that were referenced, the initial fee was one that was quoted for just a drinks only unit. It was only later we discovered that there were baked goods and things like that sold, so we amended the fee, and we were trying to do that in support because we want to support our local businesses. The second fee I just want to touch on was the alcohol and entertainment fees, which are set by the government centrally and aren't fees that we can adjust here in Cheltenham directly. So as a point of comparison, just for members to be aware of.
Thank you. Has any of the members got questions? Councillor Barrell.
Thank you. I've got a few questions, and yes, as we've said, we're not criticising your actual business at all. You know, I'm sure you know that people appreciate coming along. Can you tell us what was the purpose in setting up the business, and what role did the church play when it was set up?
So, as per the evidence submitted in Reverend Patrick Wheaton's letter of support, it was very much set up to be a community focal point. So you may or may not know St Luke's Church isn't open as much as other churches may be. So, for example, if you look to the Minister Exchange in the town centre, they are open every day. I think the hours are 11 till 2, whereas St Luke's Church is open for services on Wednesdays and Sundays. So what we wanted to do, very much in partnership with St Luke's Church, and we were invited by Reverend Patrick Wheaton, was bring the community more connected with the church community, because around the area you've got a care home, so there's lots of elderly residents. You've got the NHS, so not just the workers, who I think we all know are very much overworked, but also patients as well, who deserve to get out of those four walls.
You mentioned a partnership, and I know that the vicar mentions a partnership. Have you got some sort of formal agreement with the vicar about this partnership and the community side?
Yes, so as the process is with bidding for a site that the council green spaces team own, we submitted a full submission, and we had a terms of reference and a contract formally drawn up with the church.
And this contract, you know, is it for you to be running a business, or is it anything to do with the community and the church itself, etc.?
So again, if you look at the evidence submitted by Reverend Patrick Wheaton, it's very much akin to the charity trading subsidy model that they used to run before Tan's Coffee Box was on site. It's just that we're not formally affiliated with the church hall which runs the charity. But it is very much a partnership operation as per Reverend Wheaton's letter.
Thank you.
Councillor Sankey, have you got any questions?
Thank you. Hi. Yeah, just to reiterate, clearly it's a very valued service you provide, and you know, all the evidence, you know, clearly it's really valued and you know, a huge part of the community, which is fantastic. And obviously that's not, you know, what we're here to say. And I think it's following on from what you were saying, I think because you're saying about partnership with the church, and I suppose for me it's almost like, well, wouldn't it have been more practicable to perhaps go down the charity route rather than, but obviously, you know, in the paperwork it is very much a business, you know, successful business, but, you know, I do wonder if that might have been, it's not a question really, is it? But, you know, if that was something that might have been considered at some point, doing that instead.
Thank you. I think when you form any kind of partnership, whether it's business, whether it's as a charity, it's hard to know where your values align, where your ethics align. We're now a year into this relationship, and I mean, as you can see, as you said, from the letters of the support and the petition, I don't think anyone could have forecast that we would have such a stronghold in the local community. So we absolutely take your feedback on board. But as you can imagine, our focus has been just really trying to get through and ensure the survival of Tan's Coffee Box. And perhaps that's something dependent on the outcome of today that we would look at in the future. As well as that, we are also looking at taking things like mental health first aiding courses so that we're more equipped with supporting properly those that we serve in the local community. And that would be at no cost, obviously, to the customers.
I don't think I've got a lot more to add in terms of questions. I mean, I'm really asking beyond, because there's a lot of businesses that do add to the richness and the health of any town, but here we're talking about Cheltenham, and I think most businesses, if they're buildings, shops and the like, they have to pay business rates. Street traders don't pay business rates, and most of the street traders, not all, do add to the richness. You know, people can come out of their shops and offices and get coffees or whatever have you. There are other similar businesses working in, I believe, other churches, you know, as Tan's Coffee Box does. What I want to know is what in specific would make you different to simply a business that's there for profit that you feel would give you feels that you should have some form of exemption, either in part or in full, from paying fees, because I work in I volunteer in Springbank Community Cafe. All of the money we take goes back. No one gets paid. The money all goes back to provide food for the local community from the pantry, and that is registered as a charity. I'm just trying to see where you sit in comparison to something like that.
Thank you. I appreciate your questions. I'll start with the last one. So this is Tan's only source of income. So as much as we would love to put any further profit from the Tan's Coffee Box back into serving the community, whether that be hot meals served out of the box that were free for vulnerable residents, unfortunately, Tan also has personal bills to pay. Just this week, I received the claimant count rates for Gloucestershire. Cheltenham is the second highest. Would you want Tan to be another one of those claimants? I would argue, at least I hope, definitely not. And in terms of what makes us unique compared to a profit-making business, I want to make it clear, we're not selfish here. I hope you heard in my speech that we really want to support more practical action for local independent businesses. The Find, Domain 16, Cake Alchemist, all very, very successful businesses on the surface, closed down in just the last week. That is incomparable to such a small micro business as Tan's Coffee Box. Then I can ask any person in this room when they last went to, let's say, Costa, Starbucks, the Cooperative, Tesco, how many times have they been served by someone that said, do you want a bag? Here's your receipt. Nowhere do they ever take the time really to understand what someone's going through, what their challenges are. And Tan has often provided genuine practical support in helping each and every one of her customers, whether it be through pointing them to local mental health services, whether it be helping them to sell their house in an appropriate way. And she has got no end of time for her customers. And given that she is a small business and she doesn't have the same footfall as maybe a town centre coffee shop, she has that time, unlike others. Thank you.
I don't know if there's any further questions. I was going to, it's not a question, I guess it's a bit unfair, but I was going to say, going back to Springbank Community, we do have people there that provide those services for all sorts of things. But yes, that's not a question, it's just a comment. And I'm sure that businesses like yours do add a lot to the community. Starbucks and all of those, that they almost certainly don't give. You might find the odd person that works very nicely, but again, they do have to pay business rates, which are a lot more. Can I now ask you, you now have the right to a final reply. So if there's anything further you'd like to say in the strength of your application, now is the time to say it before we retire to make a decision.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to respond to your final comment. We actually are both from Springbank originally. I grew up in Springbank, so we're very well attuned to knowing the services of Springbank Community Centre. And I'm sure they receive grant funding and government funding. They won't be, you have to pay for the services in some way. So if we were to continue, then maybe that is another route that we would pursue. But thank you very much.
Is that all you wish to say?
Yes, thank you.
I think now we'll retire to make our decision, if you'll just bear with us. Shall we say 20 minutes, which takes about 5 to? Hopefully we'll be back before then, but see how we go. Right, thank you very much for your patience. We have come to a unanimous decision, and I'll ask the legal officer to read our decision.
Thank you, Chair. The subcommittee resolved that the published street trading consent fee does apply. The reasons being, the subcommittee thinks the business is a wonderful addition to the St Luke's community and does a great job, as do other businesses. That does not give rise to an exemption. There is no evidence before the committee and following questions asked of the applicant this evening that any exemption should be given. The business is a for-profit business. It is like any other business in the town, and therefore there was no basis for the subcommittee to deviate from the council's position. The fees still have to be paid, and there is no reason to deviate from the fees set by the council, which are set on a cost recovery basis, including the duration, location, and articles being sold. The subcommittee are not responsible for setting the fees. That rests with Cabinet. Street trading consent fees are payable by all applicable traders in the borough. It is advertised as a requirement on the council's website prior to an application being made. There was an error made last year, and as a result, the fees were waived for the first year of business, but these are now falling due. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think our officers will be in touch with you with the details very soon. Okay, thank you very much. So there are no other items I determined to be urgent, and our next meeting will be 6th of August.